Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bullony Basketball. Here today with my man, John from ClutchTalk. How's it going, my man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Always happy to be here. Bullony Basketball, man. You know that's a classic, man. So happy to be here representing Clutch Talk. Happy to talk to my guy Garrett.
That's facts. That's facts. We have an action-packed show today, but I think the first thing we should talk about is this New Orleans Pelicans team. Most specifically, Zion Williamson, who I think has played himself kind of into the MVP talks. Actually, I was on Suns Geek's show, I think last week, and I told him, I said, people need to start giving recognition to Zion, I think, in the MVP discussion. Now the Pelicans, they're first in the West. They're on a 7-game winning streak. So I guess, like, what do you make of, this Pelicans team that's had some injuries? Like, I mean, Zion's missed some games. Brandon Ingram's out. CJ McCollum hasn't, by his standards, hasn't really played like the normal CJ McCollum we know. And yet they're still dominating teams. So what do you make of this team, and what do you make of Zion so far?
Man, the Pelicans are legit, man. The Pelicans are legit, and I actually was just talking. I was just talking to one of my friends about how the Pelicans, honestly, low key. I know they're having this rivalry with the Suns, but they have a similar template or a similar path as the Suns, right? And when I say this, I mean when we think back to the bubble. Remember, the Suns barely got into the bubble because they let them go, like off, feeling bad for them. But teams are like, no, they're not even good enough to make the playoffs. It doesn't even matter. And they had that run in the bubble, and then they got really good the next 2 years, and they made those championship runs. That's what's going on with the Pelicans. The Pelicans last year were fighting for a chance to be in the playoffs. They gave the Suns a good battle last season, and now they get they get a full off season of Zion getting healthy. They get their team getting continuity, getting time to play together, and now they look like an elite team out of the West. I mean, you said it yourself. Right now they're sitting at the number one seed, and you know what's crazy, Garrett? We're saying this. They're sitting at the number one seed. We're talking about the Pelicans being this great, and they haven't. Their big three hasn't even played more than 10 games, with all three of them playing 20 or more minutes together. So we haven't even seen the best of the Pelicans yet. Brandon Ingram, which unfortunately I have on my fantasy, he's just been sitting out. I've just been losing out on all his points. He hasn't even been playing. Arguably their best defender, Herb Jones, hasn't been playing, and yet they're still on this 7-game win streak. So, man, honestly, the Pelicans are a team that should be taken legitimately top 10 on both sides of the ball. And when they're healthy, I think I don't want to say they're title contenders, man, because they would get scraped by a Bucks or they would get scraped by a Celtics. But out the West, they might have a chance, man. They got 3 bucket getters. They have experienced vet. They have a good bench. The Pelicans are legit, man. And Zion is sure making himself a case for MVP. I like that. I like that. I'll take a lot, Garrett.
I heard JJ Redick say earlier today that he thinks the Pelicans are destined to make at least the Western Conference Finals this year. And I mean, I don't see why they really can't. I mean, you think about it last year, yeah, they had a rocky start to the season, but I think once they found their identity under Willie Green, who really should be getting more appreciation in the Coach of the Year talks, I think, too. Like, once they started buying into him, they played really good. I mean, remember, they weren't a top 8 record. They managed to beat the Clippers in the play-in, albeit no Kawhi, no Paul George, but they still beat the Clippers in LA. And also then they came into Phoenix, and they took the Suns pretty close last year. You know what it reminds me of? Not in terms of like how they play, I guess, because it's completely different, but they remind me of the same breakthrough that, and you probably even remember this too, because the other team was the Lakers in this scenario. They remind me of the Thunder that were young with Durant and Westbrook and Harden in terms of the immediate breakthrough. Remember in 2010, you guys played them. You guys were the 1 seed. They were the 8 seed. And they were probably better than your average 8 seed. They at least tested you guys. Of course, you guys went on and won the championship. But then as a few years went on later, it was the Thunder's turn, to take their shot. And they were one of the best teams in the league for several years. I think the Pelicans, that's kind of like what you're seeing. And the Suns kind of were in that instance with the Lakers. Now, the thing for the Suns is that, of course, they don't have that championship, so they're kind of still fighting to get over that hump too. But what the Pelicans have done this year, They're the only team I believe that's top 5 in offense and defense right now. I don't know. It's hard to deny the fact that they're going to be one of the best teams for the entirety of the season, especially considering, like you said, like I said, how many injuries had they had. So, yeah.
So let me ask you this then, Garrett. So I feel very comfortable saying that the Pelicans are the second best team in the Western Conference right now, because I know they're on this burner right now. They're on this hot streak, but I mean, let's not be prisoners of the moment. I don't think the Pelicans are better than the Nuggets fully healthy. I don't think the Pelicans are going to be better than a Suns team fully healthy for an 82 game season. They're having a better couple of stretch, but for an 82 game season, I think both the Suns and the Nuggets are better than them. But let me ask you, would you say that the Pelicans then are better than the Grizzlies? Are they the third best team in the West, hands down?
I would say they are at full health better than the Grizzlies, which is tough because the Grizzlies have also been good. Like, we could talk. I know we're not gonna today, but we could very well spend a segment on the Grizzlies because of how well they've played with all their guys out. I mean, Ja, Bane, and Jaren Jackson, they haven't played a single minute, all three of them together this season. But I don't know. I just feel like I trust the Pelicans a lot. I personally wouldn't say they're the third best team in the West. Not yet. I mean, probably a little bit more consistency throughout the season, I could buy into it. I mean, at least based on what I saw last night, I feel like that even backs it up too. I know that they've been up and down, but I'm still rolling with the Clippers. That was my pick before the season. I think at 100% that they're still the best team, not only in the West but in the NBA. And then of course the Golden State Warriors too. I mean, like, they just won the championship. Those are probably the two teams that I think most people would look at. And then of course, Jokic, back-to-back MVP. I have a lot of trust in him. And then, like you said, the Suns, I mean, they've been to the finals. They were the 1 seed last year. So those are probably the 4 teams that it would be hard to overcome. But, Pelicans, Grizzlies, I think Portland's also in that mix. Maybe Dallas, because you can never really count out Luka. Like, there's a few teams also in there as well. The West is just loaded. You know what I mean?
The West is absolutely loaded, man. I'm loving it, man. As an NBA fan, you gotta love it, man. It's just night to night you get a show. So I love it, man.
Yeah. But we can move on. We could talk about actually one team in particular that we just named, and that is the Phoenix Suns. Ever since Chris Paul came back, they've lost 3 straight games. So they got dominated by Boston. Seemed like they got dominated actually by the Pelicans the first game. And then the second game, it was closer, and they didn't have Booker, so I guess it's a reasonable loss. But in terms of just Chris Paul, like, personally for me, like, I don't know about you, but it doesn't seem like he's looked the same this year. And coming back these past few games, you haven't really seen much of the Chris Paul we know. I mean, the first few minutes, that first 4 or 5 minutes against Boston, sure. And then maybe like that shot at the end of regulation in the last Pelicans game. That's probably the only glimpses that we've seen that replicate the Chris Paul that we know that can be one of the maybe top 5 point guards in the league still. So what do you make of Chris Paul and his struggles recently? Do you think maybe there needs to be like a rotation adjustment? And do you think the Suns, I mean, I guess this kind of answers your question because it seemed like you have faith in the Suns. Do you still have faith in them as like a legitimate contender this year?
See. Look, I'll say this, man. I've never been out here saying like, "Yo, the Suns are wow, they're legit title contenders." But I've always said, just like Rudy Gobert, they're regular season champions. They're regular season champions. They know how to go crazy in the regular season. They'll dive on loose balls in the game in January and January 2nd. The game that's, I'm not going to say meaningless, but to them it means so much more than to any other team. Like I often think about those veteran teams like the Warriors, teams that know how to play in the playoffs. They know how to conserve their energy as the season goes along. Like LeBron James does that like greatly, conserves his energy throughout the season, and then when playoffs comes. But what I think the Suns do is I think they go all out in the regular season and get on this roll, and then they go on these amazing regular season runs, and then they end up out and they end up getting tired out by playoffs. It's happened the last 2 years. Whether it be Chris Paul just all of a sudden started, whether it be last year or whether the team just had meltdowns. When they played the Dallas Mavericks, I believe they had one of their highest turnover rates of all time, and that's because it's the end of the season. It's getting to the end of the season. You're the last couple teams left. That fatigue is kicking in because you had Devin Booker and Chris Paul playing 48 minutes in January, right? So I think that's a big issue with the Suns. But I also think that, like how you said, it might be a rotation thing, man, because when I watch the Suns this year versus when I watched the Suns last year, it just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't look the same. I totally agree with you. Chris Paul doesn't have that same it factor. A lot of times when I was watching Chris Paul in the past, he's bringing the ball down court. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to get this ball to. Now, it's really not. It really doesn't seem like that. It seems like a lot of the offense is getting ran through Devin Booker. So when Devin Booker isn't there, they have no identity. When Devin Booker missed his second game against the Pelicans, it looked like they didn't have any real identity out there. So unless you're telling me unless you have Devin Booker, it's not gonna get done. That's not a championship. That's not a championship format, man. So they might still be some regular season champions, but to answer your question, man, I think Chris Paul, Father Time's undefeated, it's catching up to him. We know Chris Paul, being an all-time great assist. He's not even averaging 8 assists anymore. So the Suns are struggling on this 4-game losing streak, but I still believe they will finish at the top of the West come the regular season. But I don't think they're title contenders, man.
Yeah. So, like you even said, they're on a 4-game losing streak. Obviously, the last 3 since Chris Paul came back. The 4-game losing streak is the most games in a row they've lost since before the league shut down, like 2.5 years ago. Like before the 8-0 bubble. Like, think about that. That's crazy. That's basically ever since this whole new age of Phoenix Suns basketball. But I don't know. I just feel like with Chris Paul, like, I'm getting the vibes of not the first year in Houston, but the second year in Houston. Obviously, when he was in Houston the whole time, he never was able to showcase himself as an all-star because he was in and out of the lineup. He missed like several games, and that makes sense, but it just seemed like, that second year in Houston, he didn't seem like the same player. And then even that second year when they played the Warriors, and the Warriors had injuries because, Durant went down, and then he just didn't really perform the way that he was supposed to, and as a result, they traded him, right? It just seems like we're kind of seeing that, but production-wise, it's actually even worse. I think we just have a little bit more leeway because we acknowledge, like, Chris Paul is, like, 37 years old, so it's like this is kind of expected. Maybe we didn't expect it as much back then. But I don't know. Like you said, the Suns, they're kind of a whole mess. I think it all starts too with DeAndre Ayton and him not being happy that they didn't want to pay him. It seems like there's still kind of a rift there with him and Monty Williams. And just games like how they played against Boston, where in terms of like plus minus, I was checking, like it was the second worst plus minus of a game in Devin Booker's career, in Mikal Bridges' career, in DeAndre Ayton's career, and it was the second worst in the last 10 years for Chris Paul, like ever since like 2012, 2013. So to think that all your primary players can have a poor performance at the same time like that, you can't really rely on that, personally for me. The bench just doesn't seem that great either. So I don't know. I think they need to make moves. I think obviously that's what they're hoping they can do with Jay Crowder, like sometime by the trade deadline. He will get traded because he's on an expiring contract. Why wouldn't they trade him? But it's just like, what are they going to get for him is the big thing. So I guess we'll have to see. But I don't know. I agree with you. I don't see the same dominance level from them this year as they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, a big, at least for me, a big part of I was like, wow, the Suns are so good last year is because they genuinely had 1 through 15 contributing. Now it's not like that. Bismack Biyombo isn't giving them solid minutes. Cameron Payne isn't giving them solid minutes anymore. So where does that depth go? And if it's gone, then I think that team is gone.
Yeah, Cameron Payne, he's just been up and down. Like, he might have a great game as a starter, and then the next game he pretends he's still in the starting lineup getting that many looks, and he just plays awful. But yeah,
exactly.
But we can move on, though. We could talk about another team that's struggling, probably doesn't have as high of hopes anyways this season as the Phoenix Suns did, but that's the Washington Wizards. I believe right now they've lost 6 in a row. They even lost to my Bulls, so that's how you know it's bad. But no, the Wizards, they kind of had like a hot start last season, and then they kind of fizzled out. This season, not so much, but they were still up there, and now it seems like this is when they're fizzling out. Bradley Beal's missed the last few games. And obviously, like, I don't even you even saw what Durant said the other day. He said like Bradley Beal, he's a Hall of Fame level player. I'm assuming he meant like talent. I don't know if like his achievements will get him in the Hall of Fame one day. I'd be surprised personally, but just looking at this Wizards team, they're the 14th oldest team in the league, which is like slightly above average. They have they're 15th in payroll, so that's average. And in terms of like how long they have their contracts, they have the eighth longest average contracts like in the league of any team. So you have an average payroll for super long, like you're kind of stuck. You know what I mean? Like they're not competing. They're not bad enough to be one of the worst teams in the league. Maybe get Wembanyama or something. So what do you make of the Wizards right now?
Man, this team screams mid. This team screams mediocrity. This team screams like I'm the Portland Trailblazers when there was Dame and CJ McCollum. That's what this team screams to me. Because this team, I agree with you. Players like Bradley Beal, he's extremely overrated. Players like Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, Kyle Kuzma, Ruchi Hakamura, players like that's gonna leave you in that middle ground, right? You're not That's not bad enough to where you're gonna be competing with the Hornets and the Magic and the Pistons. That's a little bit better than that, but that's realistically barely scratching play-in situation, man. This team is so average, and this team it starts with Bradley Beal. It starts with Bradley Beal. Honestly, he's the most overrated player in the league. To be honest with you, don't get me wrong. If you want some buckets, you want somebody to go score, go give it to Bradley Beal. But if you want to win, if you want to do something of meaningfulness, you got to go win some games. And Bradley Beal chooses time and time to stay in this position of just getting paid, getting his super max, getting a bag, but losing time and time again. They aren't even, if he's trying to win a championship, he's not even setting up the team and the organization for success. Because if you're trying to win a championship, okay, I'll take less money. Let's bring in some players. He's not. He's taking the most money as possible. So he doesn't care about bringing in other players. He still is just this ball hog who just puts up an insane amount of shots per game. Kyle Kuzma, don't get me started on Kyle Kuzma. He makes just the wildest and dumbest mistakes throughout the game. Kristaps Porzingis has been hooping this year. Don't get me wrong. He's been doing his thing. But Kristaps Porzingis isn't enough. He's already injury prone. That's not enough. Even Kristaps, Bradley Beal, and Kyle Kuzma isn't enough. So, honestly, the Wizards need to make a decision. They need to decide, are we going to be the Portland Trailblazers and waste like 10 years of Bradley Beal and they've already wasted a lot of Bradley Beal's career, but are we going to waste more of Bradley Beal's career? Are we going to waste Kyle Kuzma's career? Are we going to waste Kristaps Porzingis' career and do the same thing Portland did to Dame and CJ? Or are we going to make a decision to tank and then actually get better? Because now look at Portland. They're in a way better position than they were in when they just kept, making the first round and getting knocked out or barely missing playoffs because of injuries. Man, the Wizards need to do something. I think that they need to make a choice, whether it's going to be tank or you're going for the championship. And I mean, that's going to be tough to go for a championship because right now they're not even in play-in situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the thing with Bradley Beal, and I mean, like, I'm not gonna, I guess, knock him for the sake of wanting to be loyal. That totally makes sense, and wanting to get paid. But I will say too, he's probably one of the worst contracts in the league. He's getting now. I think he's on a 5-year, $250 million because he just re-upped with the team. So now, like, you have him for so many more years. A lot of people probably aren't going to want to pay him that much. To me personally, this season and last season have both shown a little bit of decline from Bradley Beal. I think, like, the 2 years before that when he was averaging 30 a game, he looked like he was kind of at the peak of his powers. Lately, not so much, and I just don't see how he could be, like, the first best player on a contending team, a championship team, maybe even a playoff team in some cases, and you're seeing that right now. Even Kristaps Porzingis, I think he's played better this season than he did last season and the season before, but I just don't know if he could be the second best player on a team like that, or maybe like the 1A, 1B combination. Kyle Kuzma is the third best player. Like, I will say that it's probably more feasible, but I feel like he would be best suited as like a 6-man role. Like a scorer off the bench. He could be like the main shot creator or something off the bench for you. But you just look at some of these other guys, and it seems like they're just confused. Like the point guard position seems way up in the air. Like they have like Monte Morris up in there, and then like Denny Avdia. You never know like what he seems like a project that they're kind of waiting and hoping that he'll break through, but he is yet to. You know what I mean? And it seems like they're also wasting some other good players. Like I think Daniel Gafford played well for him last year, but now this year he's seeing very limited minutes. And that's also like now it's like you kind of cleaned house a little bit with some of your bigs. So I expected him to play maybe more. Now he's playing less, like so you're not really developing the young players. You just have like kind of these middle-aged veterans or in their prime or past their prime players playing, and you're just in the middle. Like you said, like I said, like they're not bad enough to compete for even a top 5 pick, but they're not even good enough to get into the play-in. That's like the worst place you can be in the league. But usually most of those teams, like they have, draft hope behind them. The Wizards just haven't really drafted that well in recent years either. I think it even goes back like to when they had Ernie Grunfeld. Like outside of Beal and Wall, like who have they drafted that's been great? Like they drafted, I think, Otto Porter the one year. They drafted, I think, Han Vesley another year. Remember Han Vesley?
I do remember Han.
It's just I just don't trust them. I think that they're stuck and they're in one of the worst situations in the league.
Yeah, honestly, I'm right there with you, brother. The only pick I honestly think they might have hit on is Ruchi Akamora. But he's a development man. He's really gotta get developed. And then just real quick, just to touch on like you were talking about Kyle Kuzma. I absolutely agree with you. I don't think he should be a 3rd to 4th option. I think he should be, like that 5 to 6 coming off the bench option. And in my opinion, the best season we've seen from Kyle Kuzma, not just because I'm a Lakers fan, was when he won a championship. He was on he won a championship. I mean, you can't deny that. And what was his role? The Lakers did not need him to, go out there and give us, 25 or give us 15. Whatever you give us is solid. Play some defense and grab some rebounds. That's in my opinion the expectation that Kyle Kuzma should be held to. He is not a 3rd option. He is not. He is barely treading the line of a 4th to 5th option, man. So honestly, the Wizards, it's the worst place you could be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you in that one. But we can move on. We could talk about transition to a little bit of sad news. Unfortunately, Paul Silas, former NBA player and coach, passed away, I believe 2 days ago now, was 79 years old. Paul Silas, I feel like he's a little bit underrated, like when we talk about like players of the past, just because like he was never super dominant, but I mean, he was a multiple-time All-Star. He won championships with multiple teams. Seemed like he was in the finals almost every other year. He was an elite defender. He was kind of like one of the early, I feel like, strong forwards as well in the NBA. And then as a coach, too, I mean, he's, for the Hornets at least, I know he also coached that team, that Bobcats team that was terrible. So people remember that, too. But, I mean, people forget, like, he's up there with the Hornets, like, I think he's top 3 in games coached and like games won, win percentage, and I think for all 3 of those he actually holds the record for the Hornets in the playoffs too. So, I mean, you think about what he did as both a player and a coach. I'm really surprised that he's actually not in the Hall of Fame. But what do you make of the sad news with Paul Silas?
Yeah, I was actually about to say the same thing. I'm really surprised that he's not in the Hall of Fame, and I hope he does end up getting inducted because I mean. Look, you listed those accolades, man. He's a 3-time NBA champion. He was a dominant rebounder. There was multiple times that he led the league in rebounding back then. I mean, he also was like one of those, those first bigs to, consistently be averaging a double-double of points and rebounds, throughout the season. And I mean, you know how much of a LeBron guy I am. He was the coach that coached LeBron when LeBron first came into the NBA. He was the coach of that Cleveland Cavaliers team, and to be able to handle that, I mean, that's big ups to him. I'm definitely happy to see his son, coaching the Rockets, Steven Silas, carry on the legacy, man, because it definitely is. It's a day that it hurts everyone in the basketball hearts community, man, but. It's just, I guess, that's life, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a higher power, higher being, called him up.
Yeah, I think actually he did lead. He led the league in rebounds. I think that one year he was with the Suns in the playoffs, and he led the playoffs in rebounds per game. But yeah, I feel like he's just kind of overlooked when we think about like one of the stronger, kind of like just kind of in grit and grind players, I guess I would say.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's just tough news, but like you said, that's just how it goes sometimes. But we can move on. We could talk about hate to say it's hate to say it's better news, but even though it is, but it's still bad news. And that is, Cade Cunningham with his injury, being out for the season. I believe he's getting shin surgery, which I don't know about you. I don't want to assume anything, but I feel like I've never had the need to get shin surgery. I don't know about that too much. It just sounds like to me as well, it's probably going to take some time. He probably could have came back later in the season if he wanted to, but it just seems like the Pistons are going all in for, Mr. 7'3", Victor Wembanyama, which I feel like right now, I mean, we know they're going to be a lottery team, but I guess I'll ask you, do you think this guarantees, because they changed the draft lottery format recently, the top 3 worst records, all of the best odds. Do you think this guarantees they're going to be one of those bottom 3 records?
I mean, it has to be, man. I mean, you take Cade out. Cade was the star of the show. Don't get me wrong, that team is still nice. That team's got some real bucket getters. Jaden Ivey. I love Kevin Knox. I know he doesn't get a lot of playing time. Killian Hayes has been showing up big since Cade's been out. He's had the opportunity to come up. And also I can't forget on Marvin Bagley. Man, that's my guy. Can't play no defense, but that's my guy. And I think that what this is going to do is, I mean, the Pistons are just going to say like, look, our star player's out. Cade, even if you can't, like how you said, even if you can come back, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? We're trying to lose as many games as possible at this point, because I do think that Cade and Victor Wembanyama pick and roll would be something out of this world to watch. So, man, I mean, I think the Pistons have they would be right in their mind to sit Cade out, let it go through, and I like what you said about that, that shin injury, right? Like, because I've never heard of that either, to be real. So I definitely want to get an update on that, like what is going on with his shin, and what is it that it's season ending. But I mean, you hope he's good. A young guy, very exciting player to watch. But I think the Pistons are definitely getting one of those top picks for Vic.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I don't know, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I feel like I've just never seen a shin injury like that kept someone out this long. It seems like it was kind of like mutual on both sides. Like, hey, like you're probably gonna miss most of the season. Why not just sit out the entire season? And I think that's just what we're gonna see. At least like for Cade, I think this gives him more opportunity. Maybe like instead of obviously every NBA game, you're not going to be able to work on like a single skill in particular, and obviously you're not going to be practicing as much. Maybe he can work more on his jump shot, which I thought wasn't bad in college, but it seems like in the NBA it's like yet to fully translate. I mean, it's kind of there. He's taking it at a high volume. He's just not making it at a high volume. So I would like to see him maybe do that. Maybe next year comes in and he's shooting like at least 36% from 3 or something like that. That would be huge. And like you said, I know you were rattling off some guys like Ivy and Hayes and Bagley. There's Stewart, there's Durant, but I think even maybe the most valuable asset in a way, and it's not like because he's young or anything like that, but how about Bojan Bogdanovic, who I think personally he's having the best season of his career. If he's on a better team, he'd be an all-star. But the thing about him is that I think you're most likely going to see him get traded at the deadline. I know your Lakers have already been in rumors for potentially trying to get him. So I don't know. That could also bring back like maybe a future first-round pick or another young player or maybe 2 or something like that. Like I feel like that's something as well. You pair that along with maybe if they got Wembanyama and then Cade comes back healthy next year. That's a scary team.
That's a scary sight. That's a scary sight. And hey, I like the point that you bring up about Bojan, because honestly, bro, I'm a Laker. I mean, I try to watch every NBA game, but I definitely watch every Lakers game. And I watched him give us 38. 38. We talking about an older player. He looked like he's like Joe Ingles out there. Sometimes he don't even got hair right here in the middle, but he still gave us 38 points. So yeah, man, I think that he is an amazing player to pair onto a team that's on the brink of winning the championship, on the team that's trying to get over the hump, or the team like the Lakers that's needs shooters, right? Like, you add a player like that to the Lakers, you add a player like that to really any of these championship rosters, man. I mean, that's a big move, and that also, I think the Pistons organization should definitely try to put that into somehow they get some more picks for Vic coming this year, but one way or another they got to make that move for sure. That he's too old to be on that team.
Yeah, I think he even started that game slow against you guys too, and then he just kind of caught fire. But yeah,
in the third quarter, he had like almost 20-point third quarter. It was crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was like 22 points. I think it was his career high as well.
Crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
He
Catch and shoot every time. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. But anyways, we can move on. We can talk about the next topic, which really we weren't planning for this today with all these different trophies. So now, I mean, some of them already existed. There's one new award. So now the MVP is basically going to be known as the Michael Jordan Trophy. Defensive Player of the Year is the Hakeem Olajuwon Trophy. Rookie of the Year is the Wilt Chamberlain Trophy. Sixth Man of the Year is the John Havlicek Trophy. Most Improved Player is the George Mikan Trophy. And they're coming out with a trophy for the Clutch Player of the Year, and that's going to Mr. Logo, Jerry West. So I guess like there's a few things here, and I'll let you talk about it first before me. But I guess, what do you make of these names, or these trophy name connection things, and do you know who you would pick? I guess right now for the Clutch Player of the Year. I guess that's what I'll ask you.
Oh, okay. I mean, Clutch Player of the Year. I don't know if I would have that, if I would have a Clutch Player of the Year yet, because we're so early into the season. But I guess let me talk a little bit about my thoughts. I think the Michael Jordan Trophy for the MVP is great. Although I think LeBron James is the greatest player of all time, right? But that's a whole other topic. But I think Michael Jordan. I think if you take the average of NBA fans, they would more likely say Michael Jordan is the greatest player. So, I think that's an absolute great name. Honestly, one of the qualms that I did have, and the issue that I did have with that Clutch Trophy, I like, shout out Jerry West. Like, I had to have an issue with the fact that it's not Kobe. Like, and I'm not a Lakers fan at all. Like, not coming from a Lakers fan on the side of things, but we know how much of a clutch player that Kobe Bryant was. We know the impact that he had, and unfortunately, with his recent passing, I think that it made it like the best situation, to name a championship, a trophy after Kobe. But we'll definitely take that Jerry West award, the Hakeem Olajuwon. Man, come on, man! Defensive Player of the Year. That's a great. I love that, and the designs for it. I mean, I'm looking at the design right here on the computer. The designs are nice, bro. Like this silky design with the, I don't know, looks like you drinking like some champagne or something,
Yeah. But nah, I mean, I agree with you on that. But I feel like for me personally, like I guess, like, to start with the Clutch Player of the Year, I just like kind of skimmed through this clutch stats just to see where we are today, because I know earlier in the season, like, Shea was leading in like clutch points, and then I guess now DeMar is actually leading in total clutch points, which is incredible as a Bulls fan because we've been terrible. But I was kind of looking at averages and like points per game and stuff, and probably if there was I don't know how they're gonna do the game limit on clutch time. Because what defines clutch time, and do you have to play a certain amount of games? Because like if you're just dominating teams, seems like you're ineligible for the award. Like
absolutely.
So if that's not the case, I would probably say Brandon Ingram right now, but he's only played 4 games that were like close. So I guess if there was a limit, maybe like 10 or so games, probably got to go with Damian Lillard right now. But overall, like, I don't know. I actually don't know how much I like them naming the awards after players. And you know me, I'm a Bulls fan. I love Michael Jordan. I think he's the go-to. I think he's the goat as well. But my thing is that just in general, they've been doing this for the past like 6 months. Remember when they came out with the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals MVP, and they recognized like Larry Bird and Magic for the MVPs, and then Oscar Robertson and Bob Cousy for the champions of each side, and then now they have all these awards. Like, what? See, I'm just wondering, like, I'm kind of worried for what's to come, like 10 or 15 years from now, because a player like a player as good as LeBron, a player as good as Steph Curry, a player as good as Durant, Giannis, maybe Kawhi, although I couldn't really ever think of one like when I was going through it for him. They're probably going to come up with an award for each of them too. Like, what's LeBron going to be? Like the Minuteman Award, like whoever played the most minutes, or like Curry is like the sharpshooter shrine, or I said like Durant would be like the bucket getter trophy for most total points, and then like Giannis like the Powerhouse prize, like most points in the paint. Like, it just seems like you're making an award out of everything. Like, that seems like the trend here. And there's nothing wrong, I guess, with how it is right now. I'm just kind of worried for where it's going to come in the future. And also, like, you think about like Michael Jordan, I feel like maybe the MVP, the regular season MVP, wouldn't it be most fitting to the guy who won 6 MVPs, like Kareem or something like that? But then also like the finals MVPs, like that would be probably most fitting for Michael Jordan because he has the most of those, right? But I'm also thinking, like, in the future, what if someone wins like 8 MVPs or like 9 MVPs, and then now they have the most? So that's like, you would think the award should be named after them. You see what I mean? Like, no matter what, there's always going to be like probably new players that, I'm not saying necessarily every award, but there probably will be some awards where maybe like someone has the best rookie of the year campaign ever, or like someone has the biggest improvement in a single season ever, and they should be most improved or something, like, for their name on there. Like, that's probably going to happen at some point, and now they can't get that honor for it. So they have to make, new awards for it or something like that. Like, that just kind of seems dumb. It seems like they should have just not named awards after players. Overall, I don't mind the Clutch Player of the Year award, I suppose, but it seems like that should also be like something like the Comeback Player of the Year, maybe something that's like on the side, not like one of the main awards at the end of the year. That's just like what I think.
Yeah, honestly, I first of all, and I like what you said about that. Then, how do you determine that? Excuse me. How do you determine that those clutch points, or you know what I'm saying? Because I know that I think they say like anything below like 5 minutes, or I think below like 4 minutes becomes like crunch time actually. So like, what determines crunch time? And like the Celtics and the Bucks are just knocking people out the park. That doesn't mean that Giannis and Jason Tatum are any less clutch than anyone else that got the award. So absolutely. And then also, I think that with them doing this, the whole name thing, I agree. It's kind of stupid because 15, 20, at the absolute max, 30 years from now, like, most of these records are going to be broken. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know a lot of people used to hate on my boy LeVar Ball, but one thing LeVar Ball said to his sons that I'll never forget, and he said it on the TV, he said, "Sons, like, records are meant to be broken. Like, why not you? Like, why you can't break the record?" So I think all of these records will eventually be broken, whether it be 10, 15 years from now, 30, 100 years from now, whatever it is. And I think all the NBA is doing is, again, like you said, setting themselves up for failure, because they're going to have to switch the name. Because when someone, like you said, gets 8 MVPs, then what are we going to keep? What are we going to keep saying, the Michael Jordan MVP? Like, no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they're never going to see, like, the league has too much, like, individual pride. Like, they're not going to just, like, say, like, oh, this isn't the Michael Jordan trophy anymore. This isn't the George Mikan trophy anymore. Like, we're going to take your name off it, and we're going to put whoever else is, like, the new player, if there ever was one, right? Like, they're not going to do that because that's just, like, disrespectful. It would be a bad look for the league. Like, so now it's just, like, in a weird spot. That's the big thing for me. But, yeah, I don't know. You got any other final thoughts on this?
Nah, man. Just that. Yeah, they should have just kept it. But I definitely like the clutch player of the year. Just going to be hard to determine it, but everything else, yeah, they should have just kept it the regular name. Like, why not just defensive player of the year? You know?
I just don't like it's like the clutch player of the year. It's like what you like if you're up 20, like what you got to start throwing like the game
So you can win the award. Like,
Hold, like
what?
hold on, hold on.
And
Let
then
me get
I
this
hope
award
people
real
don't.
quick.
I hope people don't like come like 10, 15 years from now trying to argue like, yo, he won 3 clutch player of the year's award. I'm gonna be like, yo, that doesn't matter because the other player was so much better. He wasn't even in clutch situations.
You know what? That should have been the award for Kawhi because everyone always jokes that he always misses so much time, but then he's always has all these clutch moments. I don't know, but
Yeah, Kawhi should have got it.
who knows? He could win the first ever, but yeah. If you want, we can move on though. We can move on to the game at the end, the NBA 20 questions game.
Let's do it.
All right, so I'll go over the rules for anyone new and also for you. So basically, Clutch Talk here, John here, is going to ask me 20 yes or no questions about an NBA-related thing. So it could be a current player, a former player, a team, a current team or former team, a coach, a basketball move. It could be anything. And you got to ask me yes or no questions to get to the bottom of it, to figure out what that thing is. Now, every yes or no question you ask me, like every hint you ask me, that takes away 1 extra point you can get. So if you guessed it correctly after using 1 question, you would get 20 points. If you guessed it correctly after 2 questions, it's 19, 3, that's 18, and so on. You're allowed 1 guess after every yes or no hint you ask me, but you don't have to guess after every single one. And if you absolutely do not know, you can give up, but you have to ask at least 5 yes or no hint questions before you can give up. So
let's do this. Let's do this. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
All
so
right.
it could be player, team, anything NBA related, right?
Yes, and your job is just to get to the bottom of it using the least amount of questions possible.
Okay. All right. Can I get started?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. Is this player currently playing?
Yes.
Is this player a point guard?
Yes.
Yes. Can you keep track of my questions for me? How many I've asked?
I got it. You've asked 3 so far. Yep.
Okay. So he currently plays. He's a point guard and he's in the West. It John Morant?
It is not John Morant. So that doesn't count against you for the points. So that's still only 3 questions asked. But yeah. So it's not Ja.
Okay. Is it a player?
Like just a player in general?
Like it, yeah. Is it a player, or I'm trying to see if it's a player or a team, but I can only ask a yes or no. So I gotta ask: is it a player?
Yes, it is a player.
Okay, it's a player. Is his team in the top 6 currently? Top 6 seeds currently?
Yes.
Huh. Okay. This is a wild guess. Is it Malik Monk?
It is not Malik Monk.
Okay.
So that's 5 questions you've asked so far.
Okay.
You're still doing good.
Here we go. Does his team name start with an N? The mascot of the team, basically.
No.
No. Okay.
So no, it's to be straight up. No, it is not the Nuggets.
Okay. All right, here we go. All right. Is it CJ McCollum?
It is not CJ McCollum.
I'm just waiting for it. It is. Okay, let me see. All right. Is his team in the number 1 seed right now in the Western Conference?
No. So you've used 7 so far.
Okay.
I think you'll definitely get it. It's just a matter of when. You know what I mean?
Of when? Yeah. I mean, I only got a couple. Is it Chris Paul?
It is not Chris Paul.
Oh, Gary, you looking at me like I got it. I'm like, oh. All right, here we go. All right. Did this player ever win a championship?
No.
Is it Damian Lillard?
It is not Damian Lillard.
Dang it! All right.
I feel like you've guessed every point guard with this one so far.
Oh man. Okay, is he a starter?
Yes.
Wow. Is it Desmond Bain?
It is not Desmond Bain. So it's a point guard. Yeah, it's a point guard.
Okay. Okay, he's a point. Okay, I was more thinking of a 1 or 2 guard. Okay. I appreciate that. All right. Is it De'Aaron Fox?
It is De'Aaron Fox.
Let's go! Yeah.
So, because of that, like after every additional guess you make too, that takes away a point. So it counted as 10 questions, even though you didn't use the 10th question, but still you got 11 points for that. So
I'll take it. I'll take it.
It's not bad. That's pretty good. But if you're ready, are you ready for the second one?
I am ready for the second one. Let's do it.
All right. So you can ask away.
Okay. Is this player in the Eastern Conference?
No.
Is this player currently playing?
No.
Okay. Did this player, when he played, did he play in the Western Conference?
Yes.
Did this player retire in the last 10 years?
So
from 2012 on, I think.
No.
No,
no, but
so
it's
he
close.
retired before. So he retired before 2012.
Yes.
Okay.
As you can see, I was hesitant because it's kind of close.
Kind of close. Okay. You said he did play in the Western Conference, right?
Yes, he played in the West his whole career.
Is it a point guard?
No.
Is it a shooting guard?
No.
Okay. Is he a center?
Yes.
Okay.
So you've used
And
seven.
he's
You've
is he
used seven
strict?
so
Is
far.
okay. Sorry. Wait. Is he strictly a center, or is he like that power forward center?
Uh,
Can you answer that? If you can't answer that, it's okay. It's okay.
I'll allow it. So he's strictly a center, I would say.
Strictly center.
So that's only 7 so far.
Okay. Man. Okay. Did he ever play for the Los Angeles Lakers?
No.
Is it Dirk Nowitzki?
It is not Dirk Nowitzki.
No, that was a bad guess. He didn't even really pay center. That was a bad guess. All right, here we go. I'm over here trying to hype myself up. Man, who retired around that time? Did he play for the San Antonio Spurs?
No.
Did he play for the Phoenix Suns?
No.
Oh my goodness! All my players, I'm trying to think of. I'm getting wrong. All right, here we go. How many do I have left?
You've used 10, so you have 10 more that you can ask.
Okay. Oh, man, all right. Let me think here. Tired around that time. Did he wear the number? Did he wear a number that was lower than 10?
No.
Wow. All right.
I'm just laughing because every question you've asked, like, eventually when you know it, you're gonna like it. I can't explain it right now, but I'll
right.
I'll tell you like when you get through it.
Wow. Did he play for the Golden State Warriors?
No.
I'm trying to think. I need to. Did he play for the Blazers?
Nope.
Is it Greg Oden? No, it's not Greg Oden.
I'm not gonna count the player guess because you took it away before.
Okay.
So you can
Okay. All right. Okay.
you can guess a player now if you want to keep going.
Okay. Is it Kendrick Perkins?
It is not Kendrick Perkins.
Dang it.
So you have 7 more questions you can ask yet.
Okay. Did he? No, that's. Did he wear a headband?
No. I know who you were thinking of though.
He played for the West. Did he play on one team his whole career?
Yes.
Oh, you said that actually.
Did I? Oh, I didn't know I said that.
It's not Tim Duncan.
Are you guessing Tim Duncan here?
Yeah, I'm guessing Tim Duncan.
It is not Tim Duncan. So you have 5 more questions you can ask.
Wow. Wow. Is it? No, it can't be that guy. I'm not even gonna say it. Man, is it? Was he ever an All-Star?
Yes.
Okay. Was he ever an NBA champion?
No, he never won a championship. You have 3 more hints you can ask. And you can also, make guesses in between.
Is it Amari Stoudemire?
It is not Amari Stoudemire.
Oh, man.
It's not a bad guess.
Yeah. I have no. This might be a terrible guess. Is it Elton Brand?
It is not Elton Brand. So that takes another one off the board. So you have 2 more now you can ask.
Okay, this is gonna be kind of funny, but was he light skinned like me?
Like was he black skin basically?
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's what I'm asking.
No.
No? Okay. That takes away my question. Was it Hedo Turkoglu?
It is not Hedo Turkoglu.
Oh my.
So you've used 19. You have 1 more hint you can ask. I'll remind you of some of this stuff. So he's a former player in the West, retired more than 10 years ago. He's a center. His jersey number is not lower than 10. And he played on one team his whole career.
I'm only thinking of one person that's coming to my head, but I know it's not this guy, so I can't guess it. Let me see. Give me 1 sec. Let me think.
And he was an all-star too.
He was an all-star. Wait, no, it might. Is it David West?
Are you guessing David West for your final
I'm
guess?
guessing David West.
Unfortunately, it is not David West.
No,
So,
I thought he played. Oh yeah, David West played for the Pacers. I'm tripping. Why did I say that?
So you ran out of guesses. I'm laughing because of your guesses. All your questions were so similar to this guy, but it was like just off. So when you guessed, when you said, did he retire more than 10 years ago? He retired 11 years ago. When you said a jersey number 10 or lower, he wore jersey number 11. And then when you guessed Amari Stoudemire, he was in the same draft class as Amari Stoudemire, which I thought all of that was kind of ironic. The correct answer was my guy, my second favorite player ever, too, Yao Ming.
Oh my. Bro, why did I not say Yao Ming, bro? That's crazy.
Yeah.
No, Yao Ming is goated, man. Shout out Yao Ming.
Yeah, that was tough. That was
that
tough.
was tough.
Now there's one more question yet. So, are you ready for the final one?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So, you can ask away.
All right, here we go. Does this player currently play?
No.
No. Did this player retire 10 years or more ago?
Yes.
This player retired 20 years or more ago?
Yes.
Okay, all right. We're kicking it back. back. All right. Is this player a point guard?
Nope.
Is this player a center?
No.
Okay.
So you've used 5 questions so far.
Did he play in the Western Conference?
Yeah. So he played in both. But,
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'd feel unfair if I just said yes and then you were only thinking of guys that only played in the West.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Was he on only 2 teams his entire career?
No. So he was on more.
Okay. So he was a power. Was this player a power forward?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. Did this player wear number 20?
No.
Okay. Is this player in the Hall of Fame?
No.
That would have made it easy. Right. Is this player's? Okay, I know this player doesn't currently play anymore, but is his team in the top 6 seeds of the East?
So he only played for one Eastern Conference team, and the answer to that is yes. They are a top 6 team in the East.
Is it Kevin Garnett?
It is not Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, that was a bad guess. Okay.
So you've used 11 so far.
Is it Charles Barkley?
It is not Charles Barkley. So now it's 12.
Yeah, you're holding on to those it is for a little too long. I'm getting a little excited over here. I'm not going to lie.
I got to add dramatic effect. You know what I mean?
All right, here we go. Did this player win an NBA championship?
Yes.
Is it Rasheed Wallace?
Nope. Not Rasheed.
What?
Remember, he retired more than 20 years ago, too.
Well, yeah, you're right. Okay, I gotta keep that in. More than 30 years ago?
Yes.
Okay, this is an OG.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Cummings.
It is not Terry Cummings. I like that guess, though.
Okay.
So you've used 14 now.
Did this player wear number 54?
No.
Did he wear different numbers when he was on the separate teams?
Yes. I think he repeated one of his numbers, but all but one team he wore a different number for. So you got 4 more questions you can ask. And you also you can make a guess here too if you want.
Can you remind me if this player you said he is an NBA champion, right?
Yep, he's an NBA champion, retired more than 30 years ago. He played in both conferences. The only team he played for he only played for one of those teams though in the East. So he played for more teams in the West because he played for more than 2 teams. And he's not number 20 and he's not number 54.
Sean Kemp?
It is not Sean Kemp.
See here. Who can more than 30 years ago? Is it Horace Grant?
It is not Horace Grant.
Okay.
So you have 3 more hints and 3 more guesses right now.
He played for more than 2 teams?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not going to count that against you because
Okay.
you basically already asked that.
I was okay. More than 2 teams 30 years ago. This might be more than 30. Is it Bobby Jones?
It is not Bobby Jones.
Ah.
So that's now moves up to 18. So you have 2 more that you can use.
Was he part of the ABA?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
No, it can't be that guy.
Although he played for some funky teams, I will
He
say.
played for some funky teams?
Yeah.
Is it Jerry Lucas?
It is not Jerry Lucas.
Oh, I thought I got Jerry. I thought I was about to go crazy.
So you got one more hint and guess you can make. Oop.
Was he a double machine?
I would say so. At one point, yeah.
Yeah. Is it Elvin Hayes?
Unfortunately, it is not Elvin Hayes. So that's 20. It's unfortunate. I put this in here intentionally because we brought him up earlier. It was Paul Silas.
Oh man, I should have got that. That hurts the heart right here. That hurts the heart. Oh man, I know that I messed that one up.
That was a bit of a trick, just because we talked about him earlier. I rarely ever do that, but I'm like, you know what? I'll throw a curveball in here today. Why not? But yeah, so
I love it, bro.
Overall, I mean, that's a hard one anyways. I feel like it's hard to know his resume off the top of your head, but you did get 11 points for De'Aaron Fox. You didn't get any for Yao Ming, unfortunately. Tear left my eye because I like Yao Ming. And then didn't get any for Paul Silas. 11 points, still not that bad. Not that bad. Now, before we go, I've been doing this every episode. To give me one player you do like and one player you do not like. This could be a current player or a former player.
Okay. I'll give you a player I don't like, Ben Simmons. Cannot stand the guy. Can't stand the guy. And a player that I like. I mean, there's always an obvious answer, LeBron, but I'm not going to go with LeBron. I'm going to go with the most exciting player to watch on a nightly basis, and that's John Morant.
Okay. Yeah, I like those picks. I think it's funny how everyone always has like the most to say first about like who they don't like. They're like, oh yeah, like let me get this one off my chest first.
I'll tell you, I know quick that I don't like Ben Simmons.
Literally, like I think every time I've done this, like at the end of the show, everyone's like, can I tell you who I don't like first? But yeah, it's just funny. But overall, I thought it was a great show. Thought it was fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. You got any final thoughts? Maybe anything you want to plug? Oh.
No, man. I mean, I appreciate you, my boy. Appreciate you for having me on. I absolutely love Bullony Basketball. Every episode that drops, I'm subscribed. I'm post notifications bell on, so I'm watching it, man. So I'm very happy I could be a part of the show. So appreciate you, Garrett, and for all the people out there listening at home. I do I have a podcast, a YouTube channel too. It's called ClutchTalk. If you're on YouTube, you see it. Got the whole little studio set up. We drop weekly episodes. Just an NBA talk show. Very similar to my boy Garrett's channel. And just show some love. But I guess go Lakers. Hopefully they'll figure something out here.
Yeah. So go Bulls too. Like hopefully they figure anything out. But yeah, make sure you guys go subscribe to Clutch Talk. I'll have his stuff in the description below. So be sure to check that out. But I think that's gonna do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and we're out. Peace.